Lenny.
Hi, Nancy.
Welcome to episode 92 of the Front Porch Book Club.
The Front Porch Book Club is a podcast that meets twice a month.
We like to dig deep into the relationship between characters and the worlds they live in.
Grab your book and iced tea and join us on the front porch.
Well, Lenny, it's the last episode of 2024.
I know. Isn't it amazing? What a nice year we've had.
We have had a great year. Last year, we did a little wrap-up of the year and a look ahead to our next year, and we like doing it so much, we thought we'd do it again.
I think it's a good plan, Nance.
So at the beginning of 2024, we both had a couple things we thought we'd like to do.
Yeah.
And of course, lots of things came up for both of us that we had not planned on. But I thought it would be fun to circle back to the beginning of 2024 and think of some of those ideas that we had about how we would spend the year. Some of the things that you talked about wanting to do in 2024 were write music, learn to play the piano, and write poetry. How'd you do on that? Do you even remember saying those things?
Well, now that you say it, I do. I'm like, oh, that was an ambitious list. Well, okay. I did write one poetry thing. I wanted to put it to music. I have part of the music. And that's it. That's all I did.
That sounds like a great first step. You've started.
I have talked to people about it to see if they would form a group with me. And I didn't get very far because I think that would help me to reach that. I'm going to still put it on my goal for next year.
Okay.
But that was only some of my goals, Nancy.
Okay. What were some of your other goals?
As my year proceeded and I semi-retired, which was awesome, then I added to my goals that I wanted to deploy with the Red Cross 3 times this year. And I did 2 times, but that year started in March. So I still have 3 months. I do not want a catastrophe to happen if I don't deploy again. It's fine. And then I started this being an extra gig. And that was kind of the creative outlook that I think I was really thinking of. There is still a musical part of that I want to explore. But I'm okay with setting goals and going off in a different direction. Kind of like flying by the seat of my pants sometimes. You know, I think goal planning is important. But I don't want to be so rigid that this is my goal. Now I have to accomplish it.
Right.
I think part of this discussion came out of the book that we read in January. But I want to talk about your goals that you had listed for last year. So you wanted to improve your tennis game and you wanted to do some meditation.
That's right. I got a meditation app, and I would say through 3/4 of the year, I was very consistent in at least 2 or 3 times a week listening to my meditation app. Then the last quarter of the year, somehow everything has fallen apart.
Well, let me ask you this. You put into practice that meditation. What did you get out of it?
I know meditation is supposed to lead.
Okay. When you say the word supposed to, I don't know that you. I think I know why you didn't follow through on it. Now. So that's all I'm going to say. Okay. You're supposed to what? What is it supposed to do for you, Nancy? But
I understand that it is supposed to lead to more calmness during the day. It's supposed to lead to more empathy toward others. I would say, I don't know that I felt that I directly experienced either one of those things.
Okay.
Now, it's possible that I did, and I wasn't attributing it to the meditation, but I would say it's not like I did this meditation and I thought, wow, I feel like I have calmed myself down and I feel that I am now experiencing life in a different way. I would say I did not experience any of that.
Okay. Let me ask you this. When you did your meditations, how long were they?
They ranged anywhere from 5 minutes to 30 minutes. I could select how long I wanted to do the meditation.
Okay. Did it help you feel more centered?
Again,
okay,
I
know.
I know.
No. Okay. Okay, Nance. So maybe it wasn't for you. I think you gave it a good go.
Yeah. I didn't dislike it. It was nice to think, oh, for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to do nothing but just sit here and do this app. But I just don't know that there were identifiable benefits to that experience.
Okay. What about tennis?
Well, tennis has been going like gangbusters. I continue to play tennis a lot. And I continue to go to drill classes and I do private lessons. So the big thing last year was I felt like I was in a way getting overwhelmed by the leagues that I was in. And I wanted to take a step back and join a beginners league and just reorient myself to tennis and trying to understand how to compete. And so I did that beginners league all spring. That was a good experience for me. Then I did join a USTA league in the summer, and that actually went okay also. Now I'm in a women's league, and that has been going well for me. I'm finding that I'm able to settle down and not get too anxious and just enjoy playing the game and shake off my bad shots when they come, feel good about my good shots.
Meditation.
Maybe that was the meditation.
Meditation.
Oh, see, I need to continue.
I'm just joking with you. I don't know that anything to do with that or not.
And now I'm going to join another USTA league starting in January. And I'm feeling like I'm on a little more even keel as far as knowing how to compete in an athletic endeavor. Because you and I, we really never did any real athletics. And so I just don't know. We tried, right?
Very successful.
Right. So I feel like I'm missing knowing how to get out there and try really hard and want to compete and, in fact, want to win, but not have that overwhelm you when it doesn't turn out the way you want. Even if it does turn out the way you want, you just to figure out how to compete and be a nice person. But it's been hard for me to figure that out.
Yeah, well, you're competing better. I think that helps.
Yes, that probably does help. Yeah,
you've gotten better because you're practicing a lot.
Yeah.
But there's got to be something else with it, that all the hard work that you've paid off on self-talk and goals and meditation and all the other things have finally paid off. I think you're happier when you play now.
Yes.
And then that does help you to be a nicer person when you feel a little happier.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you, Nance. Now, I know you and I have had other goals too. We just haven't talked about them very much. Like I've had pickleball things that I've done, and you've done the governor's, what do you call that? The governor's
Humanities Nebraska.
Yes. Humanities Nebraska. I know it's a big thing.
Yeah.
So we did other things too.
Yeah. So I joined the board of Humanities Nebraska, and I also joined my country club board. And so those have been two experiences that I've enjoyed and have also been a time commitment.
Yes.
But I feel good about being back on boards. And how about pickleball? How's that going?
Well, now it's winter.
Yeah, it is winter.
So I'm playing one day a week.
Mm-hmm.
I am enjoying it. I can't say I'm competitive, but I'm enjoying it. And my job at pickleball is to have a good laugh and to have fun and get some exercise, move the body.
Yeah.
I do want to get better. I want to keep up with my friends. So they're not like, here comes Linda. She's the weakest link. I want to keep up with my friends. So I feel like I'm doing that.
And I think you're overall enjoying it more. I think that over the last 2 years, you've really improved your self-talk as well.
Yes. And getting better helps.
Yeah.
Now, one of the competitive parts of pickleball is when I join the league. And I will say when I'm in the league, I'm still not 100% bought into that. I'm not always happy doing that. I'm not always feeling pickleball joy and laughter because people want to win.
Yes.
I still not quite sure about that whole competitive thing. And so then I don't want to hurt my partner because it's a partner game.
Right.
But I plan at this point to still sign up for the league to get my self-experience playing with tougher players in a competitive environment. I did compete one time last year. My friend and I joined a competition. We got out pretty quick.
Yeah.
But we knew we would because there was nobody to play on our skill level. So we knew everyone we were playing was better than we were.
Well, it is interesting. It seems like we both have kind of struggled with learning how to compete. And you think about kids who grow up doing sports who figure that out at a much younger age. It would have been nice to figure that out a long time ago, how to compete.
Yeah. How to deal with failure. That's still a hard one for me.
Yeah.
How to deal with failure. Oh, I don't like failure.
Okay. So we had some
successes
in 2024. We continue to learn and grow.
Yes.
And we're flexible when we find other things that we want to delve into.
Yeah.
That we hadn't realized at the beginning of the year. That all sounds good.
Oh, it sounds like growth, right?
It sounds like growth.
Yeah.
And growth is never a straight line.
Never.
It's like ups and backs and sidewayses and detours and everything else.
Yeah. And it's all good.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about our books from 2024.
Okay.
First of all, we read 3 nonfiction books this year. The Real Work on the Mystery of Mastery by Adam Gopnik. And that was our January book. And that's really where we did talk a lot about goals for 2024. We also read Stories for My Kids, Learning to Yodel and Other Life Lessons by our sort of relative-in-law.
Yeah, she's going to be our relative. Maybe not blood, but she's one of us.
She is one of us, by Eileen Donovan. We loved her.
Yes.
And then Empire of Pain, The Secret History of the Sackler Dynasty by Patrick Radden Keefe. Upon reflection, those 3 books, what are the main things that you think about when you think about those 3 books? Anything stand out?
Well, I will tell you that The Real Work is still a standout for me.
Okay.
It is still something I think about, setting goals. Where am I at with my goals? It's only because of that I started writing my song.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really important. And that's still staying with me. Where am I at with my goals? What do I want to add? What do I want to take away? The Empire of Pain was very painful for me, I think.
Yeah.
Thinking of the cost of human life and of tragedy in families.
Yeah.
It is still devastating. Like I can still feel emotional even thinking about that. There's few books that I will want to go and then see like the Netflix series or something like that. But I watched that whole series that was based on this. And again, very painful to watch, very emotional. This has really taken a huge toll on us in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And it's still reaping havoc. So I really like the expert that we had that talked to us about that and kind of gave us the next step, like where things are at now with legislation and the impact and the governing bodies and all that kind of stuff. I think that book has really stuck with me as well. What are your thoughts on those three books?
Well, I'll tell you, The Empire of Pain, like you, it has just stayed with me. And I think it has given me a better understanding of what it means to be an addict. The idea that people were doing what their doctor was prescribing to them and they became addicts. And for many people, it ruined their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And then the doctors were doing what in good faith they thought was appropriate given the FDA guidance that they understood or that was represented to them by drug reps. And then knowing behind all of this was a family that basically valued wealth and money making over the lives of fellow human beings. For me, it is so infuriating to think about what they have done to our country and the costs that we have paid in human life, in the destruction of families, even to things like employers not having workers. Our country has paid a terrible cost for the greed of one family. So, yeah, that stuck with me. I loved getting to know Eileen Donovan, of course, and her stories
Yes.
of growing up. I really enjoyed The Real Work by Adam Gopnik. I've always been kind of a goal setter, so maybe it was not as much of a revelation to me as it was to you. So for me, I would say Empire Pain.
It's a horrible story.
Yeah.
But looking at the positive parts of that, I think it does do a good job. Like what you said, is understanding addiction and taking the judgment away from it and helping people to say, oh, maybe this is different than maybe what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, most of our books, as usual, were fiction. And we really covered the gamut of older books this year and also brand new books. Our two oldest books have authors who are deceased, in fact, and they were Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. That was published in 2001. He died in 2020. And Things Fall Apart, even older, by Chinua Achebe. That book was published in 1958, and he died in 2013. Both of these books set in other countries, The Shadow of the Wind in Spain and Things Fall Apart in modern day Nigeria. What did you think about those two books? Did you have a favorite of those two?
Yeah, I think I did, Nance. I would really say When Things Fall Apart.
Really?
Yeah. To compare those two, I think that book will stick with me further because, again, I liked that this was our culture. These were our people.
Yeah.
And then you see the strange white man that's walking around. People are like, he's not albino, but he's a white man. So I liked the perspective of it being from the indigenous people, and that the book was different at that time because it was written in their eyes and that voice rather than from a European perspective. So I think that book is going to stay with me more. What about you?
I really liked both of these books. I didn't know much about Spain, to be honest, and certainly Spain during the 20th century. So I found the setting of The Shadow of the Wind really interesting, just having a glimpse into what living during that time was like. And then I would say the same thing for Things Fall Apart. It was a glimpse into what it was like to live as a Native African at this pivotal point. But when I think about both of those books, I do think Things Fall Apart is going to stick with me longer also.
Yeah, that book has been around for a while. I think it's going to have some lasting effects.
Mm-hmm.
The world is so much smaller now.
It's like two civilizations clashing, like this complete disruption.
And everything changed. And how did people cope with the change? Okay. So understandable now why that's on some of the best book lists now.
Yeah.
Our contemporary fictional work, We had quite a few of those. So Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. We just did that one. The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Hello, Beautiful by Ann Napolitano. Carrie Soto is back. Nancy Crawford is back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. What are your thoughts on our contemporary fictional novels from this year?
I think we hit it out of the park because every single one of those books I really enjoyed. There was not a single book that we read of those fictional works that I did not think, I am glad to have read that book. I learned something from the characters. I learned more about professional tennis from Carrie Soto is Back. I enjoyed getting to know an octopus and Remarkably Bright Creatures. I love thinking about Our Town with Tom Lake. The Thursday Murder Club, great with these older detectives. The Song of Achilles, I mean, a beautiful retelling. So I love the books that we selected. And I can't say that I have a favorite of any of them because I love them all. And I just am so happy that those were on our list. How about you?
Well, you are a book lover. I have one favorite.
Oh, okay.
Now here's the thing. I did like them all.
Okay, let me guess.
You guess.
The Thursday Murder Club.
No.
Oh, okay. Second guess. The Song of Achilles.
Bing, bing, bing. You are right.
Okay. Why was that your favorite?
Okay. So here's the thing. I didn't know anything about Homer, the Odyssey, Achilles. I don't know anything about Greek mythology. I enjoyed that book because it exposed me to that whole part that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And I liked the love story between the main characters.
Yeah.
And I liked the setting. The gore, the war, yeah, I wasn't so much into that.
Right.
But I did like the story and how it was set. And so, yeah, that is going to be my standout book of the year, is now understanding the story of all of that. All right. Our final category is children's books. We did one.
We did.
The King Penguin.
Mm-hmm.
We both talked about that this month, actually.
Yeah.
Any observations that you want to make on our children's selection this year?
You know, it's a great children's book in that it was multi-layered. And I have thought back about that book and the fact that it's multi-layered. And I really like the message that kids will be absorbing in reading that book about the love of democracy as a form of governance. Yeah.
I thought the illustrations were cute. I can so see you reading that book to a child, Nance, and getting into all of the different aspects of it and asking questions.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that I'm most in awe of every year are the amazing guests that we have on. So just think of the scholars that we've had on. We had Terrell Hallquist from Vanderbilt. She joined us to discuss Tom Lake and Thornton Wilder's Our Town. Dr. Thomas J. Lin from Penn State joined us to discuss Chinua Achebe and his revolutionary view on colonial Africa. Dr. Karen Rogenkamp, Texas A&M, joined us to talk about the Thursday Murder Club. Dr. Jennifer Cumming, University of Birmingham in the UK, discussed with us the mental skills needed by athletes and others wanting to live lives of purpose. Dr. Sarah Brenes from Amherst joined us to discuss 20th century Spain, the setting for The Shadow of the Wind. And Dr. Kenneth Kirwa from the University of Nebraska joined us to discuss research about talent development and teaching and learning generally. And we also had two journalists join us. You mentioned Neri Patani from KFF Health News. She's a journalist, and she brought us up to date on the progress of legal action against the Sackler family. And then Ann Boyd-Rue, recovering academic, joined us. She's now a journalist and an author of Meg, Jo, Beth, and Amy, The Story of Little Women and Why It Still Matters. What did you think about our guests this year?
Well, I think they really helped me to understand the books better. I love that you and I banter about the books, and then we get these people that are on another level than I am, and they're so versed in bringing the book into a different light.
Yeah.
I think it would be really interesting to listen to our podcast and hear the expert and then read the book. Like you and I are doing it the opposite of that. But I think the people that listen to the podcast and then read the book, they see it with a fresh set of eyes or a different lens, maybe, than what I read it.
Well, they certainly add depth to our understanding. I just feel so fortunate that we've had so many wonderful guests join us. I think the conversations for me are often really thought-provoking. I love the passion that they bring to the subjects. I absolutely love meeting all of these people who are so knowledgeable.
Yeah, they're great minds. Again, I'm very grateful that they would want to come to our front porch and spend a little bit of their knowledge with us.
I mean, we just met so many interesting people.
Yeah, and all very kind.
So kind.
Very kind people, very nice people.
I think every single person that we've had on the podcast, I just think I would just love to be in your world and be a friend.
I like that. We've also had two authors, Nancy. First one was Shelby Van Pelt from Remarkably Bright Creatures, and that was our octopus book.
Yes.
And then, of course, we had Eileen Donovan, aka family member, from Stories for My Kids. She was just so impressive, writing and drawing and creating books and granny pods for people's backyards and keeping up with family. I don't know. That lady was just an amazing role model for me. What were your thoughts on our authors with us this year, Nance?
I was so happy to meet Shelby Van Pelt. She is a first-time author with Remarkably Bright Creatures, but I'll tell you, that book has just gone into the stratosphere as far as popularity. It has made all the bestseller lists. It's won so many awards. We recently found out it's now going to be made into a movie. She has experienced so much success through this book. And yet, talking with her, she was so fun to talk to and had all the time in the world to visit with us. So such a sweet and creative and remarkable author.
Oh, she was lovely.
So before we get to 2025, I have a little quiz.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
What do you think our top 3 most listened to episodes were in 2024?
I'm going to say Empire of Pain, The Song of Achilles, and The Real Work.
I'm very sorry to tell you.
What? Are you kidding me?
You got none of them.
Okay. So what were our top 3?
Our top 3. Number 3, The Thursday Murder Club.
Woohoo! I did like that book.
That's a great book.
Huh.
Number 2, author Shelby Van Pelt.
Ah, interesting.
And number 1, Remarkably Bright Creatures.
Really?
Uh-huh.
So, boy, it was the year of the octopus.
Yeah.
Let's talk about 2025.
We're going to do 3 nonfiction books this year, just like last year, although it was hardly planned. The first book will be Atomic Change by James Clear. This is a best-selling book that offers a proven framework for improving everyday life by looking at the structure around your habits. The second one is Life of a Parasite, written by John Janovi, and it describes parasites and how parasitic ideas get legs. And third, Educated by Tara Westover. She was born to survivalists in the mountains of Idaho, and she was 17 the first time she set foot in a classroom.
I have to say that our January books tend to be self-help books, motivational books, goal-setting books. And of the books that we have planned for this coming year, including all 12 of them. I am most excited about this January book.
Okay.
I really liked last January's book. That made my top 3 favorite books of the year. And I'm really looking forward to this Atomic Change. And I started researching a little bit to find out like this, it's small little changes and then they explode and then the synergy behind this. So I'm really interested in hearing about the neurology. Part of this is neuroscience, which I love.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's you.
psychology and all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to be all over this book next month. Our fictional books, then, we have a number of those. We're going to be doing The Mighty Red by Louise Erdrich. It is an absorbing novel that takes place in the sugar beet farming community in North Dakota's Red River Valley. The next one is The Storm We Made by Vanessa Chan. It's Malaya, 1945. And Cicely's family is in terrible danger. Now, this has got to be right after, I'm assuming, World War II.
Yes.
But maybe it's on the cusp of it, maybe right before the atomic bomb, who knows. Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. In 1972, workers in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, down the road, were digging the foundations for a new development. And the last thing they expect to find is a skeleton at the bottom of the well.
Dum, dum, dum. Yeah.
We're also going to be reading The Night of the Living Rez by Morgan Tolte. Night of the Living Rez is a riveting debut collection about what it means to be pentascop in the 21st century and what it means to live and survive and persevere after tragedy. The Levers is by Lisa Coe. The book is about an 11-year-old. His life changes forever when his undocumented mother leaves for work and never returns. Ooh, it's going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Catching Stars by Laura Riddisell. She lives down the street in the next town. In that book, Lindy Colton has little choice but to grow up fast after her abusive father walks out on her and her mother. Now, this book, we have been considering this for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And again, we have a lot of books and we only do so many fiction, nonfiction. So she's been on our radar for a while. I'm glad that she's made this year our book list. The next book is Half of the Yellow Sun. And this book was recommended by Thomas J. Lynn,
who was our expert from Penn State, who joined us to talk about Things Fall Apart.
It's a seminal moment in modern African history, and it's the struggle to establish an independent republic in southeastern Nigeria in the late 1960s. And he recommended this book for us, and we're going to go back to Africa.
Yes.
And then the last one that we're going to do in fiction is Crazy Rich Asians. So it's a book about romance. You know, you see the clash of cultures. So that's going to be fun.
So I do like that we have books that explore cultures other than our own. In this grouping, we have 2 books that focus on the Native American experience. So I'm very excited about that. 3 are set in other countries. 2 deal with immigration and racism. So this is a really nice, diverse set of books and experiences that we're going to be exposed to. And then, of course, our December book will be a children's book, but this time we're going into YA, young adult, and we're going to do the YA classic, The Giver by Lois Lowry. I've been wanting to read this book for a long time. It's a 1994 Newbery Medal winner, and it's really become one of the most influential novels of our time. This story centers on 12-year-old Jonas, who lives in a seemingly ideal, if colorless, world of conformity and contentment. But not for long.
Well, we got a good list. And I will say that at our summit meeting,
yes,
we're very purposeful in our book selection. And part of what we're doing is trying to find diverse authors, diverse experiences. This is on the forefront of what we're doing. I think we did a good job planning. I hope that everybody likes the books that we picked. And as someone said, they didn't pick my book, it stays on the list.
It does.
But once we pick out, okay, we've only got so many fiction, nonfiction, historical, we've got some diversity. It just narrows down the list really quickly. And then we have to make some tough choices. So keep the book requests coming. We put everyone on the list. And we're updating our website. We did a photo shoot, so we've got pictures. New book lists will be up shortly with all of the books, so you can start reading your books for next year. We're on a roll. Nancy, it's one small change and the atomic changes that will happen. We're going to keep growing and improving and doing great things, and you're laughing. But we're going to keep after it.
We're keeping after it, Lenny.
What might happen in a whole 12 months?
Yeah.
It's an exciting new year.
In January, we'll talk about what we are thinking at that point we'd like to have happen.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone, for listening in 2024. And we are looking forward to seeing you in 2025. If you want to check out our website, it's frontporchbookclub.com.
Our episodes come out twice a month on the first and third Wednesday of each month.
Lenny, see you in 2025.
Woohoo! See you, Nancy. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yes, same to you. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I know. Agreed.